at it that way. I'm not perfect. I'm not great at it, but I'm trying to get better. And I feel like everybody that's in this community has helped me do that for sure. So let's go to the questions. Nick McSwain. Let's hit a couple more here. Moist Butter, one of the weirdest names in the group, gotta love it. Says, so are we trading a 7th round pick to the Titans for Will Levis now that the Titans have drafted Cam Ward? It's a great question. I personally don't want Will Levis for a 7th round pick, and I'm a Kentucky fan. Obviously, he's a former Wildcat. I like what we did with Malik Willis, but that would be hilarious if somehow, some way, Will Levis ends up a Green Bay Packer after we move on from, Malik Willis. Nick McSwain in the chat says, do we know what to expect when Ed Policy takes over for Mark Murphy? I didn't really follow behind the scenes of the Packers in 2007. I just watched the games. Do y'all think any substantive changes will happen? Nick, if it's a good transition, you won't even notice, right? Now, the thing about Mark Murphy that I appreciate is as soon as he took over, he had to deal with the Brett Favre stuff, right? Like he had to fly down to Mississippi and try to smooth this thing over where Brett decided he wanted to come back. And, you got Aaron Rodgers. You already told him he had the keys to the bus. As you guys remember the McCarthy line, the train has left the station or whatever, the bus has left the station. Mark Murphy did a hell of a job handling all that. I think he did. And I think it goes unnoticed that we won a Super Bowl with Mark Murphy at the helm, albeit Bob Harlan was still somewhat involved, but it was Mark Murphy's baby by then. So I think the only thing that you'll see is everywhere that you've seen Mark Murphy on the tailgate tour and all that stuff, right? And the stuff that he's done with Titletown, you're just going to start to see Ed Policy involved with that stuff. And I think it is worth noting that maybe these acting CEOs, these acting presidents, Jacob, they're a little more involved with the player relationships than maybe I thought before. Because hearing players and hearing employees at 1265 Lombardi talk about Mark Murphy, like Wes Hawkowitz talking about how much he meant to him and this and that, saying he's one of the best bosses he's ever had, probably the best boss he's ever had. I think that's the type of stuff that's going on behind the scenes, right? He's going to be the business leader, if you will, and calling the shots in that regard. Do you think anything will change? What are you expecting out of Ed Policy other than, listen, we got this thing on the straight and narrow. Let's just don't put it in the creek. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I hope he doesn't. I hope I don't notice a darn thing. I hope it's a seamless transition, and I feel like that they've done enough due diligence, and Ed Policy has been around the organization long enough to understand what his job is, what it's not. I think it'll be a great transition. If anything, it's going to be each one that gets, what they have like a tenure, right? It's each 10 years. You can't go more than that. I feel like that what they've done lately is they just keep one up and the other. So the pressure is definitely there to try to at least carry on the legacy. And if you can do that, just carrying it on, I think in the meantime that you're going to end up creating your own legacy, and people will remember you a certain way for that. But
I think it's very well said. Randy in the Patreon group, this is questions for the show in Patreon, says, I'm curious about the current state of Javon Bullard. It looks like Ja might be staying, in which case either Hobbs or Nixon is your preferred nickel. Evan Williams, in my opinion, is not giving back his starting safety spot. That leaves the question, how do we get Bullard on the field? In what scenario minus injuries is he a preferred starter? I like him as a player and think he can be really good. But as it stands, I wonder if we see much of Bullard this year outside of injuries. If he was not a second-round pick, Randy, I would be worried about it too. But we know, man, him being a second-round pick and already having starting experience, I think Bull's going to be on the field. I really do. With that being said, you make a great point. I think it's going to be a hell of a camp battle between Evan Williams and Javon Bullard for that safety spot. Now, Javon Bullard played his best football, Jacob. He played his best football in the slot, no doubt about it. So it may come down to Keyshawn being the odd man out. Maybe is he eating on?
Yeah, of course he's eating.
Unbelievable. Oh, this guy right here. So the way I kind of look at it is, if Keyshawn Nixon's the odd man out, so be it. To me, he's expendable now because we got multiple return guys, right? So it's going to come down to several different camp battles. I think Javon Bullard's going to get an opportunity to win the slot. I think he's going to get an opportunity to win the safety opposite of McKinney. I also think that Hobbs will get an opportunity to win the outside corner spot over Keyshawn Nixon. And this is assuming Jair is going to be on the roster. If Jair is not on the roster, then I think it's going to be Keyshawn and Hobbs on the outside, Bullard in the slot, and this question doesn't even apply. Does that make sense? And how do you feel about it, Jake?
No, I think that's fair to say. You guys know I was number one fan of the Bullard fan club, and he played decent. He definitely played a little bit under what my expectations were, but honestly, I thought he played pretty darn good for being, a rookie in the NFL system. I was even more pleasantly surprised with Evan Williams and just the all-around footballer that guy is and the type of person he is. He just seems like an absolute instant fit. So I agree. Like, I don't want Williams to give up that spot. And obviously we know we have an X. So right. I think we're, seemingly what was our weakest in a lot of people's eyes position group would be the DBs. I think that very quickly we've kind of turned that into being a pretty good room with some pretty strong backup rotation.
I agree. Emilio, you're the one who kept us well-centered all year long. When people would trash on Javon Bullard when he went back to safety because of injuries, but like you had pointed out, and you made a great point on the postgame show, like this guy prepared to be the slot all week long, and then all of a sudden he got thrust into the safety position when Zane Anderson got the concussion, if I remember correctly. So what I'm seeing here, I see that like Randy's just saying he's curious. I don't think he's worried with this question. But what I'm getting excited because what we got is competition everywhere,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I'm thinking, like, I would still think that he probably wants to keep him at safety and just, then maybe work Evan in. I think that's where he wanted him firsthand. He was just really forced into playing that slot position a lot last year. So I am curious to see, what that will be like. I'm glad I didn't, cut on him. We sat 3 feet away from him. So
he might have
just smacked him upside the head on his way out,
Hey, a little bit bigger than he looks on TV next to the other guys too, right? When he came in,
yeah,
he looked big.
Broad shoulders, absolutely. So, no, I am excited to see him get back out there, but I don't think that they're gonna try to force him into that slot forever.
Everybody on the podcast, like, what are y'all laughing at? Andy Watkins came in here and called Emilio Canilio. Absolutely love it. All right, so there are your Patreon questions. Again, just another perk of being in the Patreon group. It works just like a super chat. We appreciate all the super chats here on YouTube, but if you're in the Patreon group, fire a question in there. Try to make it as clear as you can. These guys did an excellent job here, and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can for sure.
One more point to that. They brought in Nate Hobbs and paid him. Don't you think that they would want to get the money on the field rather than just a draft pick?
That's the big thing for me, Emilio, is Nate Hobbs is going to be on the football field, just like Aaron Banks is going to be on the football field. No doubt about it. And that's kind of why I'm feeling like looking at Anthony Belton with this second-round pick. When was the last time we drafted a second-round pick that didn't start? I mean, think about it. Last year, Javon Bullard started.
Yeah.
Edwin Cooper started. The year before, I'm trying to think of who the second-round pick was the year before. Christian Watson started, right? Yeah. I believe that was
got a couple reps to begin the season, and by midway, they're basically starting, right?
And then Josh Myers, against most fans' requests, right? We were, hey, Josh Myers don't look too damn good. They still started him because it's a second-round pick. I think Anthony Belton's probably going to end up on the football field somewhere. We were talking about potential trades earlier. Maybe Rasheed Walker is a trade candidate. Me no likely that because that we're right back to where we were in Philly, right, Jake? You get one lineman down, you're screwed.